What's poppin'? Welcome in for another week of the Trinity Report with Scott Connor and myself. We're back again. It is Thursday, December 4th. We're going to get this up for the members right away, and then we'll actually probably release this a little later on this evening for everybody else, a little later in the week. But you know what? Had to celebrate 9 years of marriage with the wife. So it was our anniversary. We're out of town, spending some time with her. And we're going to make sure we get it done. And I actually think it's a good time to kind of change a little bit of the direction of how we talk about these players and this show. Most of us, our fantasy playoffs start week 14, maybe week 15. But for everybody else that's not in the playoffs, like, you don't really care who's scoring points right now because you're preparing for the offseason. So we'll talk about some players that we may be thinking about investing in for the long term, shedding, getting rid of. The content focus is going to change a little bit for some more dynasty strategy, and there's no better person to talk dynasty strategy than the co-host of this bad boy. Scott, how you been, man?
I'm good, man. We're coming down to the final stretch of the season, and I think it's a perfect time when you said, let's start changing the focus of looking a little forward towards the offseason and towards next year. It coincides with one of the macro strategies that I've started to talk about in the community a little bit is this naturally with tools like the Trinity, and there's many other things out there that just give you more data than we had even 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, right? The hardest position to always solve in these flat ranges or these ranges where there's just so many players has always been receiver. And now I think people feel a lot more comfortable and empowered with building teams around. It's almost like taking the NERB on a 53 strategy, right? And saying, you know what? I only need a couple good receivers on the team. Because as long as I have some draft capital or some stuff to trade, I can go kind of chase these Michael Wilsons and these Wan'Dale Robinsons and these Kayshon Bouttes, and they're usually attainable. Now, it's a different conversation when you have to buy them when they're smashing or when they're getting used very nicely, but they're attainable. Way more attainable than it is to go buy low on, I don't know, Drake London when he's injured.
Right.
Or even a tier below that. Like, go try right now to buy a guy like Chris Olave or buy a guy like Devontae
Justin
Smith.
Jefferson, right? Justin Jefferson. Even think about Jefferson. Ain't nobody selling low on Jefferson, even though they can't complete a damn pass in Minnesota.
Yeah, you don't want to have to pay at these spots on your dynasty team. I don't want to necessarily pay for dynasty value. And we know some of the most overrated dynasty value is the young receiver, but they're not anything but a wide receiver 2 or 3. You're paying for the what could be, but how many of those what could be's ending up being a difference maker?
Well, let's stay here for a minute, Scott. Yeah, let's stay here because I think you're right. And I haven't really thought about it like this, and now the direction of the show changes a little bit. We'll get the dots up in a minute. But there is more confidence to say, I'm going to roll out Kayshon Boutte, Parker Washington, and this wide receiver core, and I'm fine with the results, right? We talk about the offensive environments and the units and how well these teams are. It does feel a lot better or easier, or at least you've got a better chance on your bet of identifying, I will never pay for Zay Flowers because in his offense, the way it's used, like, it's never going to be worth what you want for him, right? Like, you feel more confident if you want to take a swing. The offense is to bet in, Scott. Like, one of the ones that jump to my mind right away, immediately, and there's plenty of them that haven't worked out, and we could talk about that later, but like an Elik Eomanor. I remember at the beginning of the season, right, people were like, man, this rookie, and I know he's been banged up and hurt, but even if he's out there, it's just not a good offense right now. This ain't nothing to do with Ward's long-term prospectus, but at that moment, right, there's a point where people still hang on to that. And you know what I don't give a shit about? Hanging on to Elik Eomanor. No, not at all. Like, he's no rookie building block for me right now. I've got confidence that I can find the same thing for cheaper anywhere else, man. It really has allowed me to not overpay for even, you're talking about Devontae Smith and them. I'm talking about for even some of the higher end guys. Scott, it's really made things a little more, at least give you some more conviction when you make those bets.
Well, I think take it even to the extreme is at its perfect, basically, implementation. You're not paying anything for some of these receivers. So I'm just going to throw these out there. I talked about on Dynasty Takeaways the other night. We're through 13 weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many receivers this year have had at least a 15-point game or higher? Total number. I asked Brandon this, and he was way off. But, I mean, just think about that. All you have to have is one game, 15 points
50.
or more.
50.
More.
60.
108. 108 different receivers through 13 weeks have had 15 or more points in a game. Now, you'd look at about 30 of those names, and you go, nobody ever started them. They came out of nowhere. They were the fourth receiver on a team coming in, and it was Tim Patrick or it was Khalif Raymond. They were completely off the radar.
Right.
But that's at least the entry point to, okay, a guy had a 15-point game. All right, at least their name's on the radar. Now, how many players have had at least two of those?
40.
Close, 50, 51.
Okay.
So right there, you're cutting the sample size in more than half of guys that have done it twice. Then you go down to, I think it's 34 have done it 3 times, and then you're down to 7 guys have done it 5 or more times. So right there, just looking at that data, not knowing anything else, you could probably chart that and show that to anybody that plays fantasy or not. They could probably spot a trend of kind of how the receiver production works. You know what I mean? And so that's where really your decisions are probably coming down to trying to figure out those guys between the 1 and 3 times a year where they hit that number.
Yeah.
And that's where Trinity comes in.
Yeah.
You know what? A lot of those that did it twice, you didn't even need to pay for them. You might not have even caught the first game where they did it. But then you looked at the Trinity and you go, well, you know what? I see that this guy might be injured and this guy may get used like this again. So I have a little more confidence throwing in that Olamide Zaccheaus.
Right.
Maybe that's only in week 10. But if you're willing to play your roster to where you got one or 2 spots where you're willing to kind of just play it week to week at receiver, that was something we could never do before because it just seemed so foreign. Man, Pat Bryant, dude, he's a roster clogger. He'll never get above roster clogger unless he gets a 24% target share on a season. Well, he doesn't need that for a season. You know what he needs that for? 2 to 3 games.
2 to 3 games.
And then I might be able to capture some points at a position I would have never even bothered to roster a couple years ago. That's where Trinity comes into play. And that has me thinking about a lot of these names we may talk about. When I'm buying a guy for next year, I'm not buying him because I think he's going to break out and have a top 24 season. I'm buying him because there's probably something about his profile or his situation that tells me, you know what, Ray, I may be able to use him in a pocket of games next year. I just have to be prepared with my roster to be able to put him in and not bury him behind 7 other receivers that I'm just going to throw in there every week because their name is Jordan Addison or their name is so-and-so, and I'm never going to start that other guy. So that's where it gets into the construction. But Trinity's really helped that. It unlocks that key component that helps you use your other roster spots on other stuff.
Yeah, and that's what I want to, that is what I want to, at least for the focus to be on, right? And listen, Scott, we're still going to talk about what we think these players could do next week, right? Because it is the fantasy playoffs and that stuff does matter. It still absolutely matters. So we're not abandoning any of the show, but I do want to take more of a dynasty lens as we talk through some of these players and some of these teams. Sound good to you, Scott?
Yep.
All right, where do you want to go?
Let's go to, let's just look at week 13 in general. There's a few teams that I want to
Gotta pull it up.
Highlight that has some interest going forward. Anything stand out to you? The AJ Brown return. Was nice.
AJ Brown. I haven't seen a lot of complaining from that old AJ Brown this week. Have you? After that 2 touchdown, 100, I haven't seen much.
And here's the thing. The reality is AJ Brown is a good receiver. Ray, he's in a bad environment. Period. The end. It doesn't matter how good he is. It doesn't matter how many targets there are in the offense. They come in. I did update the environment score. They come in 22nd out of 32.
Yikes.
It's not a good environment. So basically, you need everything to go right. Game script, target concentration, all of those things have to be perfect for him even to produce a game like you see from, you've seen 11 games from Jackson Smith and Jigba as good as what A.J. Brown had last week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can just... It's not him. It isn't, he's lost a step. And some of those things could be true, but I think just people need to hear that again and again and again, that when you're in some of these bad environments, Pittsburgh, Minnesota. I mean, that's why Justin Jefferson stinks. It's a bad environment. It's not him. It's, he's just he's not superhuman. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Like, it's a bottom 5 offense with a even worse quarterback than they had most of the year this past week. So
this one sticks out. This one sticks out. A.D. Mitchell.
Him and Jalen Coker, second and third highest Trinity on the week. And those are names that people are, speaking of dynasty future, one good game from both those guys, Ray, they now have dynasty value. Now, you may say it's not a second, but it's not nothing. They are not a roster clogger anymore. There is somebody in your league that maybe not if I tried to sell him to you, but I guarantee you if I was fishing for a receiver this week and I said, man, you're going to kick me that A.D. Mitchell, all of a sudden they're going, I got a fish on the hook. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You got to give me something. And 2 weeks ago, dude, when he was on the Colts and he was inactive, you would have taken anything for him.
Yeah.
So,
it's him. Let's just pull up the Jets. Let's just pull up the Jets overall. Let's pull up the Jets real quick because let's go to since week 11. The last 3 games since A.D. Mitchell gets there. This is the Jets Trinity. And this coincides also with Tyrod Taylor, right? Tyrod Taylor's been the quarterback last, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yep.
All right, Mitchell, great usage, Scott. Just a little below the line, right? Could be producing a little bit more. You got John Mechie doing well, Mason Taylor down there. Like it's better with Tyrod Taylor. And as we inch into the fantasy playoffs, would you any third right now? Would you send A.D. Mitchell away for a third?
I mean, if I was just looking to dump him, sure, that's a fair price.
No, you're not looking to do anything. Like you're not necessary. Okay.
No, because this is the power of some good usage in a couple weeks. This is the power of a narrative that's already starting to write itself. There have already been whispers of this is the 2 to Garrett Wilson next year. This is the guy that's setting himself up to be the 2. Now, I said it in the Discord the other day. I don't think there's a world where the Jets leave the next draft without a receiver.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you say they're not taking a quarterback. What are they going to do? Not draft a single receiver?
No.
In the first 2 rounds? I mean, they're going to add a receiver. Doesn't mean they're automatically better than A.D. Mitchell, but the narrative of he's the 2 clearly and there's nobody else is going to be gone. So I do think I would sell him, but I think I can get more.
He feels like he's already getting priced. Remember that, the high-end wide receiver 2 range that used to be like Smitty and Waddle and Higgins and J-Mo? It's like people kind of want that kind of return for him already. I don't think anybody's moving him for an ISO third. I think a second, people would entertain it, but there is a large contingency of folks. Did you read the quote from Aaron Glenn about him? Like that right there, even, did you hear that? Did you read that?
I didn't see it. What did he say?
So Aaron Glenn said that when we made the trade for Adonai, a lot of people thought he was just a throw-in, and he said that is far from the truth. He went to high school with Aaron Glenn's daughter. He said, I've known about him since his whole time at college. He said he played at the University of Texas. Like there's some big time ties. And he said, when we traded for him because we believe that he can be an outside X receiver for this team. Go read the full quote from Glenn. It was like they wanted him. He knew the kid. He wanted his skill set. He was familiar with him in college. He was like there is some narrative there. Some of that, what do we talk about? That ADV, that positive sentiment. So yeah, I mean, listen, I've tried to get him in a couple of spots, man. I think people, and if that is the narrative, even if, and then they're going to get a quarterback. I mean, shit, if it's Dante Moore, people are like, oh my God, Dante Moore throwing the ball to A.D. Mitchell and Garrett Wilson, it's wheels up Jets, right? Fernando Mendoza, they're going to get a quarterback change, yada, yada, yada. There's a lot of ADV with him right now.
I mean, that's the power of starting a little bit higher. He didn't start at home plate. He started probably between first and second base. Yep. So people already liked him. He was a 2nd round pick. Every once in a while, you'd hear people going, oh, he needs to be on the field more. Why don't they trust him? Blah, blah, blah. And, when the Colts drafted him, they probably didn't expect Alec Pierce to be as good as he was.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And so they traded from excess, and it might end up being one of those situations where he just needed a new change of scenery, and he ends up being kind of what you thought he would be. I remember last preseason, he got some buzz as he looks like the best receiver in Colts camp, and then people forgot about it because he didn't get a lot of run towards the end of the year. He probably made some rookie mistakes, and that sounds like what kind of kept him off the field this year as well. I know he had that fumble that, they crushed guys for doing something stupid like that, and then they didn't play him anymore. But that didn't mean he was done. You know what I mean? He can't play anymore. So he's an interesting one. This is why you will be willing to pick up these names that are buried because they're not getting used, because they had that ADV or sentiment. And as long as it kicks back in, now if this would have been 4 years after he would have drafted, nobody would have cared. But it was only a year after,
Let me throw you one. And I know he's worthless right now. But you talk about name and ADV at a receiver position that could potentially be in a good environment. What happens when Tank Dell is back on the field? I'm just throwing, that's the first name I thought of, but we can dog it out all we want about the injury. None of us are doctors and none of us know how the hell these players are going to respond and return from injury. But if he's back on the field, you talk about steam and ADV. There was a point in time where Tank Dell was being valued super high. That's the first name I thought of.
So I would have agreed with you earlier, but I do think he's also competing with other guys that have ADV too, with Null and Higgins. So I don't know if people will buy back in.
Null doesn't play enough. Null doesn't play enough, man. He doesn't. He may have a little bit of steam, but the pathway, Higgins, yes. Null, I don't know. I think Tank Dell over Null would be a pretty easy take.
But the problem is there is another guy that, there's diminishing returns because there's another guy there. I think the one that nobody's talked about that has been, you look back on this season and you think of a guy that probably would have had an opportunity to have a huge year had he been healthy. I think it's Jalen McMillan is the other one. Had he been healthy this year, he would have had how much opportunity on Tampa Bay? Gobs of it.
I pumped him up. I talked about him all offseason.
But that's another one that right now, you don't even need him to be good. You just need the narrative of he's going to come back and the other guys they had are gone. You know what I mean? That's all you need. You don't need
That's a good one.
him to actually bust through and be what people think he could be. But if you're talking A.D. Mitchell, and I don't think Tank Dell's a bad one, probably would have been Christian Watson too had he not come back.
I thought you were going to say Jaden Reed. I thought you were going to say Jaden Reed. I thought that's where you were going.
There's one of these guys on half the teams in the NFL where there was a buzzy draft name that for some reason it hasn't all come together, but all it would take is a highlight or like in the case of A.D. Mitchell or Jalen Coker, one game where people are like, here we go. This is the two. This is the slot guy. Whatever the narrative is, they're right back on the radar where you know what those guys are right now? An asset. I'm not telling you what to do with them, but they are an asset now that matters versus just a guy that you were putting on your roster but nobody else valued. That's what you're chasing going into the offseason.
Is that, let's go to New England. Is that Kyle Williams?
Yeah, I think he fits the criteria of exactly what we're talking about. Second round pick. Go to week 13. He's on there.
I don't see him on here. He should be up higher, right? With the touchdown catch. Yeah, he should be up here. No, he's not. He's not on here. He's not on here. Gotta type his name in. Why is Kyle Williams not? All right,
you're right.
Yeah, Kyle Williams is not on here. All right, we got to get Kyle Williams. Oh, you know why? Because he didn't register the last time and we didn't run the thing. So we got to update that. So no Kyle Williams, but talk about him. No Kyle Williams on the screen, but still talk about him.
No, I think he fits the same criteria of what we were talking about with Pat Bryant. As his role grows, the name was already there. There were already people that expected this earlier. So really, to end the year, he just has to finish out with some highlights, some production. And it's the narrative that goes.
It's just one catch for a touchdown every time. It's something. It's one catch, one touchdown.
The narrative grows.
Long touchdown.
The narrative grows in the offseason when it's just the typical, well, Ray, this guy's going to be gone.
Yes.
Matt Collins is leaving.
Yes.
So it's like and how often are we wrong about this guy's leaving so this guy will take all of his production? But really
that's not the point, right? That's not the point if we're wrong or not. That's the belief going in, right?
Correct.
The belief is...
You need to tell yourself the story during the time where there is no new Trinity to look at. There is no new information to look at. You're trying to play the market over the summer, but if you're looking at Trinity next June, you're really kind of having to weigh, okay, what was last year versus what this year is going to be, and there's going to be a market where you're going to have some conviction or guess one side or the other.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Adnan Mitchell's an asset, and like you said, I'm not saying you should hold or sell or buy or whatever, but he is an asset, right? He's absolutely an asset, as is the aforementioned Jalen Coker, who's at JMO right there. JMO, big week. Wicks, big week. Green Bay, CD Lamb, where do you want to go?
Well, I got one that you shouldn't chase, but I've seen people already chasing it. Let's go to Washington.
Oh, okay.
Washington. That Treylon Burks is back. He's going to be the starting slot next year. That's what you're hearing. But
hey.
I mean, I'm just
listen, saying. That's my boy. Don't you dog out Treylon.
You don't see his name, do you?
No. It's not my boy. I mean, listen, it was a great catch. This was the biggest takeaway, was right here, was Terry McLaurin, after missing, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, came right back in, and I know they went to overtime, but he came right back in and just got fed the ball. Zach Ertz, old man Ertz, still getting it done. Like, that was my big takeaway, was how good Ertz looked and how much they did go to Terry McLaurin in his first game back. And again, he's been out 5-6 weeks. Treylon's catch was dope, though. The catch was awesome. It was a great, I don't care what he becomes next year. It was a great, phenomenal catch, and leave it at that. Good for Treylon Burks getting on the field and playing. That's what I'm Treylon Burks Truther 101. Good that he's getting on the field playing, but no, I don't think he's any sort of asset. Do you?
So if someone offered you a third, you would take it?
Yes.
If someone offered you even a fourth and another and really anything you could use somewhere else, you would take it.
Yes. They could cut Treylon tomorrow. If you gave me a fourth, I would trade him. Yes. I hope there aren't people that think that signifies anything other than they've been down bodies and decimated. It probably is a bigger indictment. Is Jalen Lane hurt? Where's he at? Where the hell's Luke McCaffrey? It's got to just be where they at?
Luke McCaffrey's done. So that's one that probably was in a similar boat to Treylon
I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I'm just saying that would be the takeaway. Not as much Burks is back. It's why the hell is he playing over these other guys if they're not on injured reserve or hurt?
And is this been some rumblings, this is the Brandon Ayuk team next year, potentially?
Sure. It'd be great. It'd be great. They played just 10 years ago at Arizona State. So, sure, that chemistry is still... yes, he'd probably be...
We're chasing narratives in the offseason, right?
Yeah.
That type of narrative is not the one you'd want to see if you're hoping Treylon Burks is a starter. That's all I'm saying.
Is that real? Is that real steam? Do people believe that? I'm just asking. I don't want to be dismissive here.
Brandon Ayuk is on a roster under contract. So every hypothetical is just, somebody came up with the idea and started pushing it. So, no, you don't. But he's going to be on a different team. I think that's fair to say. And I'm guessing the Commanders may be a team that's in the mix for him. So
yes, sure. They should be. They should be. They should be. They should be. They need another damn receiver. It can't be Debo. It shouldn't be Treylon and the other guys. So, yeah.
Let's go Denver. Denver, the last 4 weeks.
What's that, week 10?
10 through 13.
10 through 13. Let's do it.
Average efficiency. They're actually 10th in offensive environment. So,
it's here's the thing. Let me say this. When you see the clusters like this, that doesn't mean really that it's average. I started to look at this different, right? Because you see that and it's like, nobody's really that far up. But you got 3 people inside the bands, pretty high up, all at or above the line. So it's actually probably really good, but those guys, the separation between them week in and week out, that's the issue. So I know normally visually when I see that, I'm like, oh man, that's not a good spot. Well, maybe it's not a good spot if you want an elite wide receiver 1, but it's pretty solid if you're throwing darts at getting wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 production out of this offense. Just want to clarify that. I think it's a different way to talk about when you see something that looks like that.
Well, I think in real time, like you and I can play with this in the offseason, especially. Like, I do think there's probably something to be said that, what do you have over the last 4 weeks? I mean, let's forget about Evan Ingram. He's sitting there at 4.32. But when you have, if you just vibe with me here, Ray, you took the 3 Trinity scores of these 3 guys combined, and you're almost at 17 total. But then it's not like they're all way below the line either. So that tells you right there that the volume is pretty high from a Trinity standpoint, and it's sustainable. So I think if you looked at those two things together, like how high are they and how far above or below the line they are as a team, that would probably almost mimic what I'm trying to replicate with the offensive environment. But you're right. The fact that you have 3 guys in that range tells you that this is a pretty good situation, probably for even the second or third option, whoever that might be on a given week. Evan Ingram's probably in the right premium. You could probably consider him right in there with these receivers. So this is one of those where, you see Pat Bryant creeping up. Troy Franklin was the it guy for the middle part of the year after Cortland Sutton kind of fell back. And now Pat Bryant's surging. What does this tell you going forward in the future? Because I think there's something to like about all of these guys.
I like it. Yeah. I mean, I think Sutton, everyone knows what Sutton is, and he's capable of giving you a wide receiver 1 week. I think he's kind of settling into the 2 different type of receivers, but he's entering that like Keenan Allen twilight where he's probably going to be pretty, like, do you ever just hear Cortland Sutton being banged up and injured? He seems like he's been relatively healthy of late. Like, he's going to have a job, and this is probably where Cortland Sutton lives a lot of his time, which is fine for where you drafted him, for what he's valued at. I love it for Pat Bryant to be a rookie and, over the last 4 weeks to have this type of usage down the stretch. I really, 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 I know we don't pay a lot of attention to like the first 4 weeks. We're kind of tracking it and letting stuff stabilize. But I really do focus on the back half of the season. When a team is pushing for it, when they're going for it, when they're down the stretch, when they've got nothing to lose, I want to see like the usage continue to climb for rookies, for second-year players, and for Bryant to be in this mix where he's right in line from an overall team usage perspective as Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin. Like, that's a buy guy for me, right? That's a good zone to be in, a little below the line, a little further back, but that's an easy story to tell yourself that he's the number 2 next season. I'm not going to say he's going to be the number 1 target, but this is, I like this a lot. This is bullish for Bryant in particular.
Notice Marvin Mims way down there, like completely off the screen. And that's one of those guys that had a name at one point. I'm sure if we went back to some sections of his 2024 Trinity, we would have seen some similar trends where it's like, okay, maybe this can get a little better. But if you want a sneaky way to try to buy one of these receivers we talk about today, like, he's the perfect guy to throw back in exchange. You know what I mean? Make it feel like the other person is still getting another receiver. You know what I mean? But you're basically saying, based on this data, there's probably not room for Marvin Mims. If he's not on my roster, I can live with it because he's probably been surpassed by easily Franklin and Bryant at this point. And those guys are younger. Those guys are newer into the fold, and they're already better. So he feels like the guy you throw back plus a third to try to get an A.D. Mitchell or something like that. And you're just trying to play the asset forward and turn it into something bigger. But that's one of those that we can probably relegate him to true, even with Trinity, true like roster clogger. And it's not, listen, the thing that this doesn't do, which we all have the ability to do on our own, is provide context, right? Like when Marvin Mims, we thought they did draft Pat Bryant with a decent draft pick. And you can see that. Like, there is some context behind this. So, yeah, throw in that Mims, throw in that damn Treylon Burks and try to go get you somebody a little better. But I do like the framing of, I honestly haven't looked, because normally I'd look at this and be like, this isn't that good of an environment. Like, it's not, like, there's nobody way at the far right. But the expectation for this environment isn't to have, like, you don't watch Denver and think there's an elite number 1 option here. You're just like, it's Bo Nix. They're running the ball, and he's going to spread it around. But this is a good representation of what that offense is. And I think, Scott, you probably, if you had to, over the last month of the season, you can start all 3 of these guys. You know, there's a chance that one of them duds for you, but they've been used in that range where all 3 of them, if you needed a flex play,
in a pinch. We've got week 14 buys. I think Pat Bryant is absolutely on the startable radar this week.
I mean, that's how you use
versus the Raiders. Come on, man. Like, I know they stunk it up the first game, but like, yeah, Pat Bryant, sure.
Well, that's how you use it, though. When you're trying to marry this data with a good environment, you don't know which of Pat Bryant or Troy Franklin's going to have the big game. Hell, it could be Evan Ingram, and in a 175 premium, if he gets 6 catches and 70 yards, you're cooking. So the key is finding these environments and going, you know what? My decisions are probably not being, you already said it. Your decision is probably not being made at Cortland Sutton. You're starting him. You drafted him to be your wide receiver 3, 4, whatever it is. You're locking him in, and you're going to eat all of the bad weeks that he has along with all of his good weeks. You've already accepted that. But on a team where you don't have Sutton, or you don't want to pay 2 seconds to get Sutton because that's the name that everybody values, it's like, you know what? This is one of 10 environments around the league where I'm willing to go to that 3rd or 4th option, and just that's the guy I'm targeting to throw in. If I need a receiver for a week, I'm targeting one of those guys from that environment because the price is probably cheap enough, but I also have probably the best shot at a good week versus chasing the 3rd option on the Titans or the 2nd option on the Browns. So that's the way to use it, is those really minute flex decisions. You're looking for these environments like Denver.
I want to go to Houston, Scott. I want to go to Houston. Let's go week 13. Houston, CJ Stroud back. CJ Stroud back. His first game back in action, and Nico Collins, big beneficiary of that. Different ways to score. Dalton Schultz still second. Jaden Higgins still maintaining. Even with CJ Stroud back, Higgins still maintaining. And then we'll go for the last month, and that includes the 3 Davis Mills games. Look where Higgins sits, man. I keep saying it. Like, if there were a rookie wide receiver, I would be buying right now for the a little bit of right now into next season. And I don't feel like I have to pay an arm and a leg. Like, I don't feel like Jaden Higgins costs any 1st round pick right now, Scott. I think it's Jaden Higgins. The last 4 games, he's got like 3 touchdowns last 4 or 5 games. Should have had another one versus Tennessee, but the usage has been, I mean, look at it. It's second to Nico. It's not even second. It's second to Nico over the last month. Now, now visually, Denver might be. Where does Houston rank environment score wise?
Right there with Denver, actually.
Right there with Denver. But then you look at this, and
they're almost identical.
And this is why this will help you. If I were going to, this one is better though, right? Where Denver's is, you're kind of making decisions around that final flex spot. Like, look at how much better this is for the top 2 guys. Right? It's not cluttered together. There is some separation, right? You already
put them up there together so people can see it. Literally put them up there together, and you will see where. And again, this is each team has their own environment, so you can't really compare the two. But if I'm telling you that the pie is similar for both, the components of both are similar. I mean, right there, you can see the Higgins component is better than anything in Denver.
Yep.
But then if you're really just searching for, the most volume or the most options, it's clearly in Denver where you probably have 4.
That's a great overlay, because you start looking back at the Houston side, and there's Schultz the tight end, but there should be absolutely no need for you guessing that Jalen Null is going to have a big week, or Christian Kirk, or even Xavier Hutchinson. Like, if we were going to go the start bar, let me ask you this. Jaden Higgins versus Cortland Sutton, Scott. A lot of people think it's easily you start Sutton over Higgins, right? Like, that's the number 1. Now, where's the context come in. The number 1 in Denver versus the number 2 in Houston. How do you delineate and decipher that?
I mean, I think the argument kind of stops at the number 1 in Denver for most people.
Correct.
You know what I mean? They would just go, give me the 1 over the 2. But
correct. But
what this is showing is that, I wish that was a better visual, but you're almost kind of there's more that is kind of slowly picking apart at Cortland Sutton. There are 2 strong predators there, just taking a bite every once in a while. Bryant and Franklin are. And the other thing that, this does not capture in Trinity, but Bryant and Franklin are probably ascending players to a degree. Dalton Schultz being the third on the Texans is not a guy where you're going to go, he's going to get 30% better over the next year. You know what I mean? If anything, he may fall, given that we've probably already seen his peak. So kind of feels like Higgins is the one where if you had to pick, you're taking him over the 3 Denver options. But if you told me there was a deal where you could move Higgins for any of the Denver options and a big enough plus, then you could incentivize me. But that's how I would tier them. I think this is a really good visual to have these two teams together because they're both equally as good. Yep. They're just the way they're constructed are a little bit different.
That's why these are the type of conversations, Scott, we need to be having. I'm excited to have more of these kind of talks throughout the offseason. You know what I mean? About this type of stuff, right? Like this is what it's about right here, is talking through these situations like that. So good stuff right here with that, Scott. Good stuff. Where do you want to go next?
Arizona. We got to look Arizona because we pumped that Michael Wilson last week.
Hold on. What am I doing? All right, Arizona. Oh, gosh. Oh, yeah, we did, didn't we? We did, didn't we? Let me get that. Let me move
and we weren't, listen, we weren't.
No, I was going to say we weren't wrong.
We weren't wrong, but
get this
panic on the streets of Michael Wilson will nuke Marv has been overblown.
It was overblown. Okay, here we go. This is just week 13. Week 13, here we are. Yep.
And now, to be fair, Marv got injured again. And it sounds like he's going to be out another week or two. So we may get, this might be the time where you go after that, Mike. I mean, you may get another week of Michael Wilson like you had in week 11 and week 12. And that was amazing. So,
yeah. This is just week 13, though. No shocker here, right? McBride leading the way. No shocker. Marv, he got fed early. 7.5, 2.9. Got banged up in that one. Michael Wilson fell back. Jacobi Brissett fell back, but Michael Wilson was the clear number 3 in this matchup.
So let me ask you something. And this is just something I've been thinking about because I was looking at this actually yesterday. Just do 2025 week 1 through 13. Just put in 1 through 13.
Mm-hmm.
And you see where Marv lands. Just you'll update it and you'll see.
I already knew where you were going with it.
Okay. So now go week 24, 1 through 17.
24, 1 through 17. All right. 24, 1 through 17. Let's go, baby.
We know last year was not a good environment.
It was not. Let it update. It's gotta pull the 2024 stuff. I know what we're gonna see Marv around the same spot, aren't we?
Yeah, and I guess my question was,
yeah, here he is right there. It didn't. Did it even move? Hold on, man. Hold on.
It moved up slightly this year by a 1/10 of a percentage. It's very minimal.
There it is. There's Marv.
It's a little. His usage is a little better this year, which you would expect, right? His second year, it's a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously he's got a little bit of a better environment most of this year when Brissett's been in there. But we were talking about this the other day. Is it fair to say that Marv is never going to equate to Trey McBride's role in terms of he's never going to be the number 1 on his team?
I don't think it's happening.
Fair?
Nope, that's fair.
Okay. Is it also fair to say that kind of Marv, is he just what he is? Is he just what he is? And what's going to drive whether he has I don't even want to say elite season, but what could drive whether he has one of these top 10, top 8 seasons is probably his environment drives him upwards versus his talent pulls the environment upwards. Does that make sense? It doesn't mean he's bad. But do we have enough data through 30 weeks of his career now to say that he's probably not an elite receiver? And there's nothing he does that makes you think that's where he's going to get. And here you go. I see you got the outcomes up there.
Here's the outcomes. So all this does is look at the last 5 years of usage and take where he finished at, Marvin Harrison, where he finishes 6.53. And based on that 6.53, what is his low end sort of point per game range, his medium range outcome, and then his high end outcome. Top 10%, bottom 10%, and then all the rest in the middle. That's all it does. Doesn't factor in coaching change, doesn't factor in any of that stuff. Based on what he did last year, as you can see on the screen, at the top 10 percentile what the tool told you, whether you wanted to believe it or not, Scott, what it said is based on how they used him and based on how players over the last 5 years have been used like that, you're looking at about 15 points per game. At that medium kind of range outcome where it's just kind of like he does what he should do, 11.3 points per game. And if he just shits the bed, 8 points per game. But that's what that band of players who have scored that over the last 5 years does. And where's he at this season, man? Where's he at?
699. So he's at 699, a little above last year, but that's probably
where's his point? Where is he? What's he scoring?
12.5.
Right
so
at that,
right in between the median and the
right in
range.
between. So, listen, usage doesn't lie, dude. That's one thing that I've learned. It's pretty. It doesn't lie and it doesn't tell stories. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Like Brian Thomas is going to absolutely kill the tree. He's going to bring the score down because based on what he did last year, he should be much, much better. But other factors, injury, whatever. But yeah, I think to your point, Scott, Marv looks like who he is. Like he's a solid NFL receiver. He's fine, but he's not great. And if anything, what it tells me is I would still want Michael Wilson for what you said 15 minutes ago. Because those 2 to 3 games, if Marv misses, if Marv doesn't do what's he's capable of just getting fed. Just fed. And he might be, Scott Connor, because none of us really know Marv's athleticism because he didn't do shit during the pre-draft process. He may be a little better receiver, Scott. He may be just as capable in his wide receiver acumen and skill set as Marvin Harrison Jr. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at, because even this year, 699, I know we don't have the range of outcomes for 2026 yet.
Not yet.
It's not going to probably be that much higher. You know, it might bump up a point or so, but it's probably not going to be even at a range. I was just playing with, go to 2024. Just look at Seattle 2024. I'm going to just show you a visual.
All right, let's do that. Seattle 2024. Here we go.
Okay, so last year, JSN's Trinity was 6.48. Mm-hmm. So really the same Trinity score as Marv, right? So going into the year, people probably could have been like, those guys are the same. They're similar, right? They were both good prospects. They're both arguably the 1 or 2 option in their offense. Like, they were probably valued very similarly. But then go look at the range of outcomes on JSN compared to Marv. Huh? And just look at the difference. And keep in mind, JSN scored 2.5 more points per game last year, but the usage was the same. So just go look at his range of outcomes and see if you spot the difference.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I hadn't compared those two, but you really look at them, and there's a big difference between a median of 15 and a peak of 19 than what Marv's was. But had we used this before the season, you probably would have never taken those Marvs over those JSNs.
I mean, look at it. And this didn't factor in anything besides that band of where they were used. Adjusted for efficiency, what they've done. This is it's got JSN high end at 18 points per game. He's far exceeding that, right? Like this is pretty cool, man. Like we put a lot of time into this. Like it's not bullshit. It's just what's happened on the field and what normally happens whenever these things occur. Doesn't factor in quarterback change, doesn't affect. There are some things that you have to take into context, but you start going through this outcomes tool and just looking at where people finished and where they were at, there aren't a lot of just glaring misses, Scott Connor. There aren't.
Go to Jacksonville.
All right, let's go to the Jags. Let's go to the Jags. Week 13, baby. Jacobi. My dog just kicked the door in too, so I gotta go do that real quick. Go ahead and set us up though. Let me get this the screen right. There we go.
Yeah, we talked about last week. We talked about Parker Washington and Brenton Strange. I mean, Ray and I did a whole probably 5-10 minute talk last week on the Jags, and because BTJ didn't play last week, right?
Right.
So we got to see what it looked like without him out there. He came back this week, and here you go. Brenton Strange continued to get good usage just like he did last week. So he seems to be like he's a tight end, so he lives in a different expectation than a receiver.
It's great though. It's great.
He's getting really good usage for his position. But look at the gap between everybody else and Jacobi Meyers, and Parker Washington got injured this week. And so
he got hurt.
It's hard to say after the last week. And keep in mind, he was only there for, like 5-6 days. You know what I mean?
This was his third game.
This is his third game with the Jags. So his usages continue to go up and up. And then you see this in week 3. I mean, how do you not consider Jacobi Meyers like a top 24 option rest of the year? You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of guy that if I can spend a second rounder and use him for the rest of the year, I'm willing to bet on it.
Okay.
Pretty easily.
Let's take the same exercise we did with Houston, with Denver, and apply it here. This too is also a good offensive situation, but the difference between, just so people can visually see it, between this and Denver is much like Houston, right? Where over the last, this is since week 11, since Jacobi Meyers was there, there's a clear number 1 receiver. There's a number 2 option, but a number 1 tight end. And then you have, if you needed a flex, Parker Washington, even though he got hurt, I mean, he caught like a 20-something, he's viable in that flex range, right? So again, another environment where you've got 3 guys inside the bands, but tiered differently. And when you're thinking about how you play them, honestly, Scott, we layered Houston, we layered Denver, and we layered Jacksonville over top of each other. Nico Collins would be the first receiver I would start, and the Jacobi Meyers would be second. It wouldn't be Cortland Sutton. It wouldn't be Jaden Higgins. It wouldn't be Pat Bryant. It would go Nico and Jacobi based on that. And then after that would probably be Brenton Strange, right? Like I want him in my lineup if I've got tight ends, right? Like I want Brenton Strange in my lineup for what he's done the last 2 weeks. Just another interesting way to, and I would say this, conversely, I'm probably not starting Parker Washington over, I'm not starting him over Jaden Higgins. I'll tell you that. I wouldn't do that. Between Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin, I think you've got a decision, right?
The real sobering point is you're probably looking at Pat Bryant versus Troy Franklin versus Brian Thomas being a conversation.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe,
and that people don't want to hear that.
That's what
though.
It is.
They don't want to hear the adjustment of those 3 players, putting them in the same.
Let's give BTJ
bucket.
one more week. Okay. Let's give him one more, because that was his first game back. Let's give him one more. But that is the real sobering point. It's those guys. It's Parker Washington versus BTJ. It's Pat Bryant versus BTJ. Yes, Jacoby's the one. And I'd bet on that. If I could only get him for a second, I would absolutely love that. And I don't think, honestly, I'm going to just say this. I don't tell people what they should do with their money, but I also don't think you should be greedy too. If somebody offers you a second for Jacoby, don't try to gouge. He's not worth a first. I'm not giving you a first for him, right, Scott? We're not doing that. A second is a fair price. If you got to have that Marvin Mims, that Treylon Burks, fine. You could have Treylon too. Treylon in a second and give me Jacoby.
You know what's interesting too is slowly this Jags environment is getting better every week. It has actually gotten better, even though they have not had Travis Hunter for 5 games. Brian Thomas has been in and out, but every week it gets a little bit better. And that doesn't mean it's great, but it's slowly improving. It's slowly climbing. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is up to quarterback 15 on the season. He's not elite, but he is slowly, and maybe this is just one of those things that you can't really see with the data, but even the data tells the story.
Yep.
Maybe he's just getting a little better in the system, getting used to playing with some of these receivers. It is the football part of it where, if he's not elite by week 6, then he's just not the right fit for Liam Cohen. Yeah. And then we may look up in 6 weeks and we're like, dude, the Jags are in the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the crazy sport that we just sometimes think if he's not a Hall of Famer by midway through that Liam Cohen's going to move on from T-Law because it's not his guy, and probably not the case.
Where else do we want to go?
You want to look at it? Want to look at a really ugly one?
What, Pittsburgh?
No, worse.
Oh,
and you wouldn't think of it worse because last year it was one of the most efficient offense. But go to since. Well, it's really further
Buffalo?
back. You can probably go back to week 8.
Buffalo?
Go to the Baltimore Ravens since week 8, right?
Oh, okay. All right. You're going to those Jay Rich's squad, those Ravens.
What do you notice?
You got a $40 million receiver up there is what I noticed.
Well, first of all, one thing you notice is if I'm already going to tell you, I mean, we didn't put this up there because it's a great team. You have too many dots is the first problem. And then the second problem is they're all bad except for Zay Flowers. And Mark Andrews is okay.
Flowers is pretty bad too. For as much as for what he gets in this offense, it's pretty bad.
Well, it feels worse than it is. You know why? Because I could live with this offense if it was Mark Andrews where he was, everybody else below the line, and Zay Flowers was above the line.
That's what I mean.
You're realizing the production. But when the best usage player
isn't even
barely the highest fantasy score, then you're like, there's a problem with the offense. The Ravens are now the second worst environment in the league. They are 29th in plays per game. Okay, you can live with 29th in plays per game if you have a really good team, right? They're 27th in neutral pass rate, which means they don't even want to throw. And then they're 25th in passing efficiency when they throw. So it's just it's the trifecta of...
It's the trinity of bad.
It's the... And the fourth component, which I have not calculated this week, is the concentration score, which you can see by Trinity. This ain't concentrated. They're spreading the little pie around to 6 or 7 different players.
Who's that dot? Who do you think that dot is? The third dot?
Probably Likely or Bateman.
A damn tight end. That's when it goes underperforming receiver, over like at performing old tight end, and then your third option is underperforming tight end. That's probably not good, right? Like that's probably not good.
And then you have a second and a third receiver and another tight end that are still, they're not. Yeah, they're still Trinity scores above 3. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're not nothing. They're getting in the way. So, right, they've actually been passed by the Titans in environment score. And I know that's not shocking to a lot of people, but we think, it's Lamar Jackson. Their offense will turn it around. It's Todd Monken. Dude, this is a 6-game sample size. I don't think I don't care if they're playing the Bengals or the Steelers. I don't think this is an offense. I'm not starting. You probably got to start Andrews and Flowers because you're already committed. But if you could find a better option, even
what was the score of the game last week versus Cincy? 32
to 14.
And I think the over under of that game was like 52.5 coming in. And I remember I was on Bleacher Report and I was like, I don't see it. I think Cincinnati will score, but this offense just isn't good. They're not really good at running the ball right now. There is no receiver. Like it's a brutal watch. I'll tell you this. Again, people have drafted. Is that the right play though, Scott? Like I want Christian Watson in my lineup over Zay Flowers. Like I think even though he's the one in this environment, he's getting the usage, but you just said in a 6-game sample size, he's getting me 10 points a game. Why wouldn't I look for another option, even if it's the number 2 in a better environment? Jaden Higgins has been a better bet than this. He's been a better bet than this I'm just saying, we're at the point now where I don't want to hope. I don't need to wish. I've got what's happening, right? How do you reconcile with the wide receiver 1 on what did you say in your environment score? That they've been lapped by the Titans. Why would I play him over some maybe number 2 wide receivers in much better situations?
Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, we talked about Zay Flowers. I think we did the second half of the year, like guys you'd be interested in buying, and Zay Flowers was one of mine. And the usage has held. But you know what has not improved at all? It's actually gotten worse. Just the overall passing quality.
Here's the last 3 weeks. He went back. It went back. It's from week 11. I don't care. Dude, this is very bad. This is very, very bad. Is right. All right.
I don't know what else to say. It's just it's a bet on Lamar Jackson if he's going to be what he is the rest of the year. Like this isn't going to get better. You're right. You got to have some discipline and just sit Zay Flowers.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it should be discussed. Why is it not being discussed?
Yeah. Well, you get that. We've all felt it. It's not easy to put Pat Bryant in the lineup over Zay Flowers, is it?
No.
It's not. It's not easy to click that button. It's just not. And I think this tool allows you to, you still have to make the decision, but it allows you at least some data and some justification as you feel a little more comfortable doing it. Doesn't mean you have to, but that's what this is here for.
Oh, here's what I'm going to do real quick so you can see this, Scott Connor. I'm going to put, and it's going to be a lot of stuff going on. Baltimore, Denver, Houston, and New York. I'm going to put them all up there. Why would you not play Adonai Mitchell over Zay Flowers this last 3 weeks? Jaden Higgins, 7-4, 11 points per game. Higher to the line. Zay Flowers down here. There's Nico, Cortland Sutton right away. Those guys are locked in. You've got Mechie right here. Same time period. There's Mechie in this offense. There's Pat Bryant. Little bit lower usage, but he's scoring more than Zay Flowers by almost 3 points per game. I'm not saying nothing. I'm just saying I bet you there are some bets you can make with some names, especially as rosters in Dynasty start to, you know what, Zay might be bad this year, but man, I'm buying him in Dynasty. I can't wait for next year. It hadn't worked out this year, but I'm buying. I think there are some lateral plus moves you can make right now with some uncomfortable names, and I'm not saying that Adonai Mitchell or Jaden Higgins or John Mechie or Pat Bryant are the 4 names you need the ISO on. It could be a Michael Wilson. I think there are some moves that can be made where profit be turned right now, where a lot of trade deadlines might be going off the radar, Scott. I'm encouraging folks to think about this a little deeper.
No, I mean, the only reason you wouldn't do it is because, I mean, the Jets aren't a good environment either, but you're comparing the 2 worst environments in the league with the Ravens and the Jets. And you're comparing AD Mitchell and Zay Flowers in the same conversation. So that's the sobering reality of when you put these names together. The only reason people couldn't attach those 2 names together is just because of the previous sentiment or value that they held. That's it. That is it. Nothing about what they could be going forward or what their usage has been over the last couple of weeks.
This is what the show's going to be all off season too. Scott, I don't know about you. I'm pretty excited to see the range of outcome tool after we get all the stuff in from this year. Just going back to the JSN Marv one was beautiful. Like that should be because I think if I'm not mistaken, their ADPs had to have been relatively close. Like Marv's ADP it had to have been relatively
close. They were back to back on underdog. There was a pocket where it was those 2 and one other receiver, and they were literally all just back to back to back. So it was right there.
All right, Connor. Let's just look at LAC. We haven't talked about them in a while. We'll get ready to get out of here. Let's look at the Chargers real quick. I don't know what to see. Oh, golly. That's just week 13. Where do I need to go back to? Week 10, 11? What I don't know what to think. I mean, Herbert's banged up. Have we seen an environment? I know we harp on Chicago and the offensive environment flip for Rome Odunze, but man, this Chargers one has been rough too, Scott.
Go to week 10. That's when they lost Joe Alt. Let's compare week 10 and beyond to the first 9 weeks.
All right, here's week 10 to week 13. This is what it is right here.
And the big thing you can spot, and you feel this if you've started Chargers, and they've had some unfavorable game scripts too, so I'll give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt, but this is still a 4-game sample size. Their environment has fallen quite a bit. It was near the top of the league. It's fallen to like 6th, 7th, so it's not bad, but it's also, you're feeling the effects of the lack of concentration too, right? The always argument at the beginning was, well, they have 3 or 4 guys, but they're able to sustain all 3 or 4 guys. Now, I mean, what do you notice? Like QJ over the last month has fallen back in usage. But even the guys getting startable usage, I mean, look where they're living. Alonde Gaston has like 1 game since week 8 or whatever it's been. So, I mean, maybe we go to week 1 through 9. Just look at the difference so everybody can see the difference, literally visually, 1 through 9 versus week 10 and beyond, because that's when they at least had Joe on the left tackle. Look how different it is.
Wow.
And I don't know if you can say, is that just a small sample size? Does a tackle have this much impact on a passing game?
Every data point has said yes. Even prior to this, every single data. I did a show with Harmon, and it was almost like a 10% jump or decline in offensive efficiency with him off the. It is dreadful. Go look at Herbert splits with Alt and without him, and it's not just Alt. Alt's out, Slater's out. The interior of the offensive line is a wreck. Like, it is problematic. The big beneficiary has been damn Kamani Vidal. And Ladd is surviving on the strength that he's scoring some touchdowns. But when has Ladd had a nuclear week?
Yeah. That's a good point.
He's surviving off of, versus Miami, when Ladd got 80% of his receiving yards in that game on the final drive of the game, when the Chargers were coming back to beat Miami, and Ladd caught that pass and ran like 70 yards and got tackled. I mean, listen, I think there are moves to be made if you've got the courage of your conviction to make a bet. And it doesn't mean that you're going to win the bet, because you could lose out on having a Ladd McConkey. You could lose out on having a Zay Flowers. But if you structure the deal right and you get player plus pick asset capital back for your push, for your down, and I'm not saying move, I think there are moves that can be made, Scott. Oronde Gasson, think about how people are feeling now that bought into this version of him versus what they got right now. I mean, there were real conversations where people said they wouldn't move Gadsden for Trey McBride. Nah, man, I can't. I can't do that. Look how great he's been with Herbert.
I'm just sitting here. It's going through my brain. Like, this is the kind of environment, Ray, that if you had a bounce back potential, if you could get into even QJ, like, this is the kind of environment that when we reset to 2026, that I'm okay. I mean, I'm probably not buying Ladd because he's the one that's probably the most
Trey
expensive.
Harris would be the name. Trey Harris would be the name.
Right. Trey Harris, QJ, or Gadsden. Those are probably the three that'll pop on the radar. But this is an environment. If we saw what we saw the first month or 2 months, you're going to want back into not just the top player on the offense, but the next 2, 3, even 4 options on the offense as tiebreakers when you're talking about players in the same tier. But yeah, your point is good. The rest of the season, you would agree, it's probably destroyed, right? You probably don't want to roll out the fourth Charger at this point. Man,
I don't even know if you really want to roll out the second or the third one, man. I mean, you do it because you do it. But honestly, the offensive line, I don't care. Look how quickly things went south for Rodgers. One, I know it's his non-throwing hand, but with that porous line, you don't think he's going to get touched up? I got that Philadelphia Eagles on Monday night. You don't think he's going to get hit? What happens then? Then it's Trey Lance at the helm. Sometimes the football gods are just unkind to a team, right? Injuries take over and it just happens. And there is data that shows how bad Herbert has been with and without Joe Alt in the lineup. And it's not just Alt now. It's the other tackle. It's interior offensive linemen. It's tough, man. It's tough. Now you add Marion Hampton back into the fold too, who will take some receptions.
That's what I was going to say. Is so interestingly enough, the Chargers have actually gone up in neutral pass rate. They now lead the league, but their efficiency, Herbert has dropped from 7th to 18th over the last 6 weeks. So that tells me right there, they haven't been able to stop throwing, but that probably also is because they don't have Amari and Hampton. You know what I mean? They have Kamani Vidal and nobody else. So they're like the thing they would go to because of the bad line is not even there. So they're just forced to continue with the throw it at a high rate and hope that a talent of our quarterback can keep us afloat and that our defense can help win some of these games. Like they've been pretty crushed. I would say almost more than any team, not even just the line, but to then have a running game that is neutered at the same time you lose your tackles. That's probably why you've been feeling, why isn't Keenan Allen getting 7 for 81 anymore? You know what I mean? It's hard for it to sustain the third or fourth guy when that environment is so poor. So very interesting. Scott. Chargers 2025 have been a story that has had many layers.
All right, let's get out of here, man. This was a good episode today. Close us out, Scott. Final thoughts, takeaways, show, leagues. Give the people something, man.
Yeah, I think we're coming down the stretch. I mean, obviously, if you're still playing, if you still have a trade deadline that hasn't passed, you can take advantage of some of these short-term moves. But I think the short-term moves that you're going to be chasing now, guess what they also beget? Some of the moves you're chasing for 2026. You know, a guy like a Pat Bryant is a guy you're chasing probably today because of his usage down the stretch, but there's also the benefit he probably goes into the offseason with a little buzz.
Yep.
Based on his usage right now. So just think about that. And then also when you're trying to buy players that might not be popping right now, think about where AD Mitchell came from a month ago to today. And what are the players that they may not even get the usage until week 15, 16, 17. But if they do, can I easily tell the story going into the offseason? The name of the game between January and July is having shit that other people want. Things you can move. Things are flexible.
Yep.
Keenan Allen's not flexible. He may be good next year. Again, he may have another Trinity score that's usable. But again, having him in March isn't necessarily going to help. So that's how you have to think about receivers for sure, because there's a very few of them that truly move the needle and just cannot be lived without.
You like the flow today? I like today's conversation.
Yes.
I hope people, I really liked that today. So hopefully you all out here getting this. Again, little late, but apologies. 9-year anniversary, had to celebrate. Things happen. But I think the information today was even more valuable and applicable than what you should do on waivers. You know what I mean, Scott? Like who you should grab. There's nobody, right? I'm talking about no damn Xavier Smith, none of that stuff. This is going to be the direction of the show as we continue to talk about the tool and outcomes and usage and environments and good stuff today, Scott. Really appreciate it, man.
Yep. Thanks to all our members and good luck last week of the regular season.
See y'all next week.